Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're back with our Week 8 review episode of all the NFL action. And what a Week 8 it's been. Just a crazy slate of early games, an insane ending in the late games, a classic rivalry on Sunday Night Football. Maybe the best week so far, I think. I don't know. Like, the finishes in those early games were just unbelievable. Tight ends turned up on National Tight End Day, having by far and away their biggest day ever, I think, in the NFL, in terms of touchdown catches and receptions. Just a phenomenal day. And we're going to talk through all of the action. We've got 4 of the main games we're going to talk through. We're going to cover off the rest of the action in our 4-fold challenge and ATS Picks Competition. And we're going to look at the winning Fantasy Gameday lineup. We're going to talk about our bets. It was another good week for the guys here. And we're going to have a little look ahead to a rather big Thursday night football game. Joe, Byron, what a Week 8. How was your NFL Sunday?
Better than Dallas's, so we'll take that as a win. It was really fun. Like I said, especially the early window, there's a lot of close games, a lot of fun outcomes. Kept our eye on the prize, unlike Tyreek Stevenson. It's a fun early session.
Yeah, it was a really good week. Even starting with Thursday as well. That was an exciting game, and it more or less came down to the end. But yeah, a lot of fun, interesting results, a lot of points, a lot of controversy, and fun week all around.
Yeah, not to boast, but I really had my finger on the pulse this week, calling underdogs to win outright and to cover as well. It was a good week in that regard. We had the Rams shout last week. The Browns early was on that, shouting out the Browns to beat the Ravens, and that's where we're going to start. I think we're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens falling 24-29 to an inspired Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns. Phenomenal stuff from start to finish from Jameis. Pre-game interview, during the game, post-game interview. It was phenomenal stuff from Jameis Winston. I think we knew he was going to give the Browns offense a jolt and something more than Deshaun Watson had been giving him. I mean, I say, did we expect this? Byron, you were ahead on this one. You cashed a huge Jameis Winston bet.
Yeah, 20-1 to be the passing leader on Sunday, which he cashed by 4 yards. So, really nice win there. Always good to... I haven't cashed a weekly special yet this year, so that was my first one. Really, really positive. Got Cedric Tillman going, got Njoku going. It's kind of embarrassing when you look at what the Browns have been trotting out compared to what they did on Sunday. The Ravens now have the worst pass defense in the NFL, which is hugely surprising to me anyway. Like I knew they had issues there, but to be specifically the worst doesn't seem very Ravensy. But yeah, Tillman 2 touchdowns and Njoku a touchdown. We've got fun Jameis back in the league. Might have even efficient Jameis back in the league. 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Yeah, it was.
That is un-Jameis. Maybe this come to God moment is inspiring him. I mean, this is the first time I've really seen Jameis since he's had LASIK surgery as well.
Yeah, maybe now he can see.
Maybe that was the issue all along. It's staggering. It's always been a little staggering to me that he couldn't get a starting job anywhere. Like when you look at some of the starting quarterbacks in the league, and I just said there, Baltimore have got the worst pass defense in the league, and they were down, some cornerbacks going into the game as well. So like, I don't want to make out that this is going to happen every single week, but it just further drives that point home of how weird it is that he just could not get a starting gig anywhere. It's not like he was blackballed like Kaepernick. He was getting jobs. Couldn't get anywhere as a starter. But I mean, this is a huge win for the Browns as well. I think if they lose this game, it is real full-on tank for the season. Whereas now, sure, they're unlikely to make the playoffs at 2-6, but I don't think you can tank the season at this rate. You might trade one player away, but
yeah, they can win games, can't they? I think that's the key thing. They've got a chance, and I mean, it's not like Winston was spreading the ball out. It was Njoku, Judy, Moore, and Tillman all got 5 or more grabs and 50 or more yards. Like, it was spread out. It was just truly phenomenal stuff. I just thought that to kind of ice, they were in position to kick a field goal and they just went for the shot over the top. I think just that kind of being bold enough, seeing the opportunity, grabbing it, and I don't want to start dropping into an Eminem song, but he really, really did just grab that moment, and it was just incredible stuff. This is one of the games where the on the flip side for the Ravens, that they just kind of have one of these games every now and then where they just kind of sleepwalk and dawdle the way through it, and before you know it, they're in a position where they're up against it, and the game's gone and they've lost it.
Yeah, and it could have been so different as well when it feels like when you have these games, they have the chances to win. I think it was 3 dropped interceptions they could have had, and obviously the last drive when it was straight into Hamilton's hands and he just dropped in. It's a completely different script. I think if he intercepts that, then that's a Ravens game right there. And I don't know if it would be boosting Winston up as much, but he certainly had a look on his side with them dropped interceptions. And yeah, they're a weird team where they'll suddenly just hit a spark. Henry just keeps running through people and then he goes quiet for a quarter or two. It's a bit strange. And they had a few obviously dropped interceptions. They had a few drop passes as well. I think there was one. I think it was Bateman where it hit him straight into the chest. I think you couldn't see because of sunlight, and I think Zay Flowers had a few drops. So yeah, they're a weird team. I think they're still going to win this division, just with what the other teams are like, and there's still that kind of team is. Are they going to be what they're going to do in the playoffs? I think they're going to be fine going into the season. They just need to stop with these silly losses and just put teams away when it's there. I think they'll get better as the year goes on. So not too worried about them. They do it all the time. So we'll see what happens later on.
Yeah, I think the key, they only ran Derrick Henry 11 times. I think this is the key. You see this. You've seen this in the first few games where they don't get him the ball.
Yep.
And they weren't massively down at any point. So it wasn't as if you had to go away from the running game. They only rushed the ball 21 times, which has not been this Ravens. That's not been the MO of this Ravens team on this kind of 5-game win run. They've rushed it down, they've ran the ball down your throat. And they just decided not to do it. And there's no doubt that Cleveland played better defensively, and they were certainly more stout. And, I think just again, that knowing that your offense can do something helped re-energize the defense and help them make some more plays. But yeah, I just thought this is one of the ones where they just get a bit too cute, the Ravens, sometimes, and just stick with what's been working, and that's Derrick Henry running people over.
And Tucker missing field goals as well, which is not usual.
It was a 50-yard one, wasn't it, at a key moment in the game?
Yeah. I think one of the things as well, like, obviously it's related to the Ravens' pass defense being so bad, but Jameis Winston had 4.23 seconds to throw yesterday. It's the largest time in next-gen stats history since 2018, which I forget the guy's name. He used to be a Packers quarterback. He's now like a content creator, Kurt something. He came out and said, following looking at the All-22 of Jameis's film yesterday, if the Ravens defense can't step up, they are not winning the Super Bowl. Like, it is just too flawed, which I think is kind of right, which is what I think goes real well with your point of they need to be running Derrick Henry. They're probably going to have Keaton Mitchell back, I would say, next week, maybe the week after. But if Derrick Henry, they don't want to run 20 times every game, then they need to find someone else who'll do it then. Like, even if it is Keaton Mitchell's not really a pounder, to be fair, but he's very much a speed back, Devon A-Chain style. They just need another body who can run 15 times, 12 times if they need to share the workload with Derrick Henry. Justice Hill seems to be just being used out the backfield. Maybe a trade, maybe someone like Raheem Mostert, Dolphin season might be done. Just somebody who can take that workload off if they're going to give it off Derrick Henry, because as good as they've been on the passing offense, it only works off of Derrick Henry. To be as good as they've been. So, and we look back at the AFC Championship game as well with Baltimore last year. You can't get away from your philosophy in the biggest moments, like, because I'm not saying this is the biggest moment of the season certainly, but like when it matters, you need to be able to rely. That needs to be what you rely on. Like, and once again, it comes down to it, and they haven't, and they lose again.
Yeah. Baltimore, potentially Pittsburgh, got a chance to get a game ahead of them tonight. Playing the Giants on Monday Night Football. The Ravens have got the Broncos next week. And the Broncos have been on a good run, but the Broncos are 9-point underdogs. I'm going to shout out again. I'm taking the 9 in the Broncos. I'm going to take the 9 against the Ravens again. I think it's too big a number the way the Broncos are playing at the minute.
Yeah.
And the Browns have got the LA Chargers in Cleveland. Potentially another opportunity to get another win on the board for Cleveland. And could they become a factor in the AFC wildcard race? Who knows? An inspired Jameis could take them on a similar run to what Joe Flacco did last year. That is the Browns. We're going to stay in the AFC. Patriots and Jets, and what an absolute, I'll say car crash, but what an absolute just mess this was for the New York Jets yet again. Falls to 2-6. Patriots won 25-22 with a very late Ramondre Stevenson touchdown. It's over now. If it wasn't already, surely it's season over for the Jets now. Surely, embrace the darkness was Aaron Rodgers' quotes in the post-game press conference. He's been there before. You've got to embrace the darkness.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what the New York media wants to hear. Well, they maybe want to hear it, but the New York Jets fans do not want to hear it. Again, this is just a fairly flawed football team, isn't it? Malik Willis has won more games this year than Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay have got 2 better quarterbacks at this point than what they gave up. And Joe shared it in our chat with this from football perspective. Jets scored 20 points, committed no turnovers, held their opponent to under 250 yards of offense, and lost. From 1940 until yesterday, teams were 756-0 when they hit those 3 metrics. And the Jets lost to New England 25-22. I don't know what you say. Are they cursed? Are they just? I mean, like I said, fundamentally there is flaws, but I think if you look at the 1-22, they're a better team than New England, especially with Drake May going out. The pass catchers are there, the running backs are there. The O-line isn't great, but it's better than New England's. Rodgers isn't a total bust. He's not looking like Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but if you ask me for one game, would I rather have him or Jacoby Brissett? I'd take Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, of course. And I think probably one thing that summed it up to me, and there was a lot, but they just can't get the shit together. And how do you get a delay game penalty on a 2-point conversion after you scored a touchdown, knowing that you're going to be going for 2? Because if you score that touchdown, you're going for 2 to get 7 up.
Yeah.
How do you not get that? How are you not ready? How do you not get the play calling? How are you not organised? How do you get a delay of game penalty on that? And all of a sudden, you're trying for 2 for him.
Well, it's also a team who took all the 3 timeouts in the first quarter just because they couldn't get the shit together. It just when you just look at it all, I don't know how they lost this. When you look at how they actually ran it decently, they got plenty of yards in the air. The defense played Quinton Williams played well, but they just find ways to lose, and it's that over and over again when we did this at the season of who's getting the playoffs. I didn't want to pick the Jets because it just feels like the certain team just it's just them, it's just the Jets. How can you made all the moves, everyone thought they were the right moves, getting these big players in, then you get Devontae Adams in. Oh, that might fix it, and it's getting even worse. It's they fired the coach. Obviously, people once the coach is gone, then. And it just can't. It just feels like it's just who the Jets are. Is it ownership? Is it everything about the franchise? But yeah, we were joking around before the game, if they lost to New England, but I don't think none of us actually believed that would happen. So yeah, I ain't got a clue where they're going to go from here. Yeah, we all think the Jets to cover by 7.
I'm not sure this will make the headlines of Devontae Adams or sacking Salah, but Greg the Leg has to be getting the boot, right? I mean. He's 9 of 15 this year. And for a team who's all in, he's not even a friend of Rodgers. I mean, Mason Crosby's getting a job, so that's good. But for a team who's all in as they are, allegedly, I do not understand how you stick with this kicker.
I think it was the 44-yard attempt. It wasn't even close. It just wasn't even close. And this is someone he's so experienced.
Yeah.
He's been, on so many teams over the years, and you don't get the nickname Greg the Leg for nothing, do you? But
Legatron.
Legatron, but I think it's time to put the leg down. I think, there's a couple of games there where you could just point to that and go, well, they just had a competent kicker.
Yep.
Won the game.
Simple as it's funny because obviously there's a lot of kickers who played for a lot of teams, but Nick Folk's playing the best kicker in the NFL right now. Or maybe not the best, but he's so consistent because he doesn't kick really long. And from under 50, I think he's pretty much perfect for a long time in his career. And he's a former Jets kicker, of course he is. And it just makes me laugh when you see things like that because it's the Jets, and the Jets can't stay out their own way. And I was on Greg Zerline's page, PFR, just to see his record for the season. I knew it was bad, but 9 out of 15 is appalling. He has 3 nicknames. PFR lists players' nicknames. I'm not sure if you've ever noticed that.
No.
It's hilarious. My favorite of all time is Tariq Cohen's nickname is Chicken Salad. No idea why. But yeah, Greg Zerline's nicknames are Greg the Leg, Legatron, and Young GZ. Never heard Young GZ before. So I just wanted to give that a shout out. And his profile picture looks like a mugshot, and he very much does not look like someone called Young GZ. He looks like an accountant who's upon fraud trials.
Well, maybe he can put those nicknames on his resume instead of his name, and someone might give him a workout.
Yeah, what up? Is Young GZ here for a job? Yeah.
Whenever he inevitably gets cut this week. Jets 2-6. Patriots also 2-6. Drake May out early. I think he got concussion. He's in concussion protocol. Brissett came in, and it was predominantly done on the ground. I don't know, it's predominantly just done because of the Jets' ineptitude, I guess. But yeah, Ramondre Stevenson with rush for 2 touchdowns. Drake May had the scamper early on for the other one, and I think this feels real good for the Patriots. Kind of be able to put in one of the final shots on the Jets season. I think because it's what's after life support, but before death. I think we're at that point. Last rites.
Yeah, last rites. Yeah,
last rites. I think.
And I'll tell you who would love to be delivering those last rites. And it's a shame it wasn't a Manning cast game. Bill Belichick will be absolutely kissing himself watching this. Yeah, he does not like the Jets.
No, and we get to see the Jets again in prime time.
Thursday
night against Texans. We'll talk about that at the end. Patriots get a second win. Who the Patriots got this week? Patriots move on to a much better quality of opposition in the Tennessee Titans next week in a game that I'm sure we'll have to watch. But Patriots over the Jets. We're going to move into the late slate. Move over to the NFC. We've talked AFC earlier. NFC next, and Hail Maryland. The Commanders. What a way to finish kind of that Sunday of games before heading into prime time. The Commanders 18, the Chicago Bears 15, and a miracle in Maryland. I must have watched the play 50 times.
Yeah.
And before we talk about the magnificence of Jade Daniels or Noah Brown being Johnny on the spot, there's another name that this play is going to be synonymous with for the rest of their life. And that's Tyreek Stevenson. And that shot, I feel we'll have to give credit. I think it's Joe Abdo or Joe Bodo. Sorry, I've got the Twitter link somewhere. Who first shared the video? It was in the crowd at what we're calling it now. It's not FedEx Field. What's it called?
I'm really bad with stadium names. Yeah,
Northwest Stadium. There we go. Not FedEx Field anymore. Of Tyreek Stevenson just giving it to the Commanders fans with his back turned to the play, giving it. And then the play starts, and Tyreek Stevenson has to get on his bike and make it across, and just so happens to be the one that tips it into the arms of Noah Brown for that. Crazy. And this could be a game that the Bears are going to start their tough run now. And this is obviously a tough game as well. If you miss the playoffs by a game,
And that's really feasible in the NFC North. Really feasible.
Whether it's the division or you miss out on a wild card spot by a game. I made Matt Aberflus. I feel a bit sorry for Matt Aberflus because
I don't because they also ran a backup center to
Doug Kramer.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather give it to Cosmo Kramer.
The mini fridge.
Odd play call. Yeah,
we've seen some of that from the Bears at the goal line, haven't we? From Shane Waldron, but. Yeah, I don't know. This was, I think, a game, all in all, that disappointed. And we were expecting, knowing that, got to Sunday and it was pretty clear that Jaden Daniels was going to play.
Yeah.
We were going to get that shootout. The Bears' offense has been so much better. The Commanders have been so good. Can the Commanders do it against a tough Bears defense? And offensively, the Bears were putrid. They've got it going a little bit. I mean, I say they got it going. DeAndre Swift got it going.
Yeah.
And that was about all the Bears had to offer, really. Caleb completed 10 of 24 for 131 yards. The Bears' O-line kind of broke down again. And I know Braxton Jones went out injured, the left tackle.
Yeah.
But this was back to the Houston game where Caleb just didn't have any time to throw the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, obviously it comes down to the miracle Miracle at Maryland, in Maryland. But I mean, Washington deserved to win the game. If you look at the entirety of the game, their win percentage was above 50, basically from kickoff. There was more touchdowns scored in the last 30 seconds than there was in the prior 59-30. The Bears finally went ahead, with 25 seconds remaining, which obviously makes it all the more miraculous that the Washington Commanders went on to win. But I think on the balance of play, you would give the performance to Washington. Just how it happened is incredible, and what we watch NFL for, really. Yeah, I mean, we'll criticize Tyreek Stevens because it's absolutely unacceptable, unforgivable. I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing as his coach, but I almost think I'd be suspending him half the game next week or something. I don't know what you can do to. He's never going to do it again. You would bet good money on, but there has to be something for you really fucked us. But I do think there's a discussion. I've seen a few people raise this in a couple of weeks, last week as well, when Detroit were facing the Hail Mary against Sam Darnold to close out the game. They sent 5 rushes at him.
Yeah.
And, if you've got to complete a 65-yard pass, maybe you're better just sending the extra rusher than just waiting. Jaden Daniels yesterday, I already talked about Jameis Winston's next-gen start of time to throw. Jaden Daniels held the ball for 12.79 seconds on his game-winning 52-yard Hill, Maryland. It's first TD pass with time over 10 seconds since 2016. Well, since it's been recorded, which is since 2016. So I don't know how long it's actually since, but... And obviously, it's still a freak occurrence, but if you send an extra rusher, that play probably doesn't get off because you don't have all that time. And there's a few times where you think, if there's someone extra in there, then he just gets sacked and the game's over. So as much as it's Tyreek Stevens, I mean, maybe just send Tyreek Stevenson as extra rusher because he's as much use.
He might as well have rushed. He might as well have rushed from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Just turn around and
do a lot. Yeah,
for the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, or maybe just try and yell some abuse at Jaden Daniels like he was the Washington fans. And it must be so sweet being a Washington fan, you were being jawed at by him, because I know you can't actually then go in his face, but that would have been so sweet.
Yeah, and this kind of thing doesn't happen for the Washington Commanders, right? No. Or whatever we call, the football team. It just doesn't happen to them. And, as much in our division.
It does kind of feel, though, almost like the spirit of Dan Snyder left yesterday completely. Obviously the sale's gone through, but maybe the portal to hell opened up and just took him down yesterday. That was kind of the cleansing of it all. And I kind of like that idea. Because, there was nothing to root for Washington since I've been an NFL fan, certainly. I've been a Cowboys fan, obviously. I don't really root for division teams anyway. But, I'd rather beat a good version of an opponent than what Washington have been serving up for the last 20 years. So, it's an exciting time to be a Commanders fan.
Yeah, just the end was crazy. Dan Quinn just couldn't believe it. He didn't know what to do. And just, the rushing of the field. It was just a great, great moment. And, it was a huge day. Daniels, obviously, 60-odd yards on top of his passing yards, but he had a pretty good day moving the ball. Very, I thought I agree that screwed your Winston bet, but it didn't. So all worked out just. But yeah, for a phenomenal moment. Commanders are 6-2 now, and it just sort of feels like it's between them and the Eagles now for the NFC East, and those matchups are going to be real.
I was going to say, when you look at the Commanders' schedule as well, there must be a favourite to get to the playoffs because they've got Giants, Titans, and Saints in the run of fixtures, and the Cowboys twice. So, that's easy to get to 9, and then they've got a few other winnable games, like I said, twice against the Eagles, Falcons, and the Steelers. So. Yeah, even if they don't win the division, they're certainly one of the favourites to get into that playoff spot if they can take care of the bad teams and if they beat one of the Cowboys, and they're at 10 wins right there.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that on that. Sure, they've got 11 wins there at least. So yeah, good times for the Commanders, and yeah, Jade Daniels wins the duel between number 1 and number 2, and that tips the favour in terms of the number 2s in those games now to 3-2 to the number 2 overall picks when they play the number 1 overall picks, both as quarterbacks.
They're the number 2 seed as well right now. Minus 350 to make the playoffs. So yeah, DraftKings, I'm not going to say they're already paying out, but I mean, they have them very comfortably in the playoffs. So
they're also only 3.5-point favourites against the Giants next week.
Get out.
Which is already on. I already put that on. That's
wild.
It's minus 3.5 plus 100. So it's not even minus 105, minus 110.
Yeah, I don't look ahead as it. I used to, but I stopped doing it this year. Looking ahead as early, but that strikes me as wild because the Giants have no O-line, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, that's already on my list for next week. But yeah. Phenomenal ending, and Bears start to get a lot tougher for the Bears now. 4 and 3, so we'll see if they can bounce back. Next week, the Bears. Who are the Bears playing? The Bears have the Cardinals, don't they? Yeah, in Arizona. Only 1 point spread there, so we'll see how that goes. In terms of bets, so the Hail Mary helped me cash the Commanders plus 2.5. The over was never really in play. I had the over 43.5, but yeah, the Hail Maryland helped me cash the 2.5. Not a bad way to do it. Nothing for you on this one, Byron, but Joe, you had Zach it's plus 50 receiving yards at plus 265, so a nice win for you there. And over 3.5 field goals in a field goal. I think the Commanders nailed 4, didn't they? So, nice catch.
Fairly. Yeah, cheers.
Good stuff. Our final game we're going to talk about in detail. I don't really want to talk about. Joe, do you want to lead the way on this one?
It just felt like the same script the 49ers and the Cowboys always play. It feels like, it was stressful for me. Don't know how it was for you guys, but it felt like the 49ers was a better team throughout the game. I think in the first half, I couldn't believe they were down 10-6. I thought they played better than that, and they slightly edged it, but the Cowboys managed to get the touchdown drive. Just the 49ers giving too many penalties away, and just doing silly mistakes and doing. I think there was twice on 3rd down. Shanahan ran it when it felt like Brock was throwing all over the Cowboys at some point. The inevitable Dak interceptions, he did 2 this time, happened. He should have really had a 3rd on that last drive where he decided to throw it to 3 of the 49ers players who were having a team meeting. And if Warner didn't tip it, then he would have gone straight into the hands of Lenore, who did get a good interception prior. But it just felt like another 49ers game where we end up going, getting a big lead of 17 points going into the 4th quarter and sweating when the Cowboys get it back with, I think it was a couple of minutes to go. Just down 6 and having a chance to win it. But again, that's what I mean by the typical script where it feels like Dak gets the ball, chance to beat the 49ers, and it just goes wrong. At least they didn't get like a running back to snap it this time, or
all right.
Or the clock run out. It was just 4 and out, and it was a bad 4 players as well. But and much needed win for the point.
Yeah, he makes a great throw to Turpin. You know, but he can't put
Yeah.
that ball in a better spot to Cavante Turpin, and you need in that moment you need him to make that catch, and all of a sudden you're at midfield. And
Yeah, but I think if you're relying on Turpin, what was he, 5'6" to get the ball down the side of the pitch, you're like, surely we've got something else in the bag of tricks, but
we don't. No.
But no.
But it was a perfect throw. Literally, you could throw it anywhere. But yeah, sadly, a lot of the others weren't. 30-24 to the Niners, and that's a lot closer on the scoreboard than it was in reality. Things started to break down for Dallas just before halftime. That's when the Niners started getting the chunk plays, and then in the third quarter, it was just chunk play after chunk play. 15 yards on the ground, 25 yards through the air. It was just ridiculous. Kittle had a huge game, 6-1, 28 and a touchdown. It was Isaac Guerrero who did the damage on the ground, and it was him, like I say, I think who started breaking the resistance. I thought Dallas did okay for a quarter and a half defensively. Like the D-line kind of was a bit sturdier, and I thought, it didn't last. I thought Chauncey Golden did okay, kind of in there, just kind of run stuff in and slowing down the Niners to give Cowboys the ball enough to be able to get some points on the board. But again, offensively, I mean, these receivers just don't create any separation, and we are rightly going to give Dak a hard time because there's a little bit when you're getting paid $60 million. You've got to be doing something to elevate this team. You've got to be doing something to make this team better. I mean, instead of being part of the solution at the minute, it's part of the problem. And it's hard because they're just outside of CeeDee Lamb, who just, again, I know he's got massive numbers, 13 for 146. A lot of that was in the fourth quarter, but he just goes missing in games, and teams are able to just keep him quiet and keep out of games for huge portions. And it happened again in this one. And if it isn't Lamb, it isn't anyone else at the minute. Ferguson's not really kind of taking a step that we expected him to. One of those receivers, whether it be Tolbert, Turpin, none of them have stepped up to fill that Brandon Cooks void. It is a struggle. And then just defensively, they're just getting beat up. And again, I was real disappointed in Eric Kendricks. I thought he had a particular poor game. Trayvon Diggs, he was rightly being called out by a reporter, and he just needs to keep quiet. He doesn't need to, and instead he's going at it with the reporter, kind of outside the changing rooms.
That thing of as well, it's one of the things that really bugs me of athletes is they attack journalists well, you couldn't do what I do. It's you know what, you probably couldn't do what he does either. Mm. He's a journalist, he's not a cornerback. And
it's not as if he had a great line either, was it, to kind of put the reporter down with, talk about these nuts. No, you've just been whooped. It was 24, you've been whooped, and he was rightly being called out for his lack of effort.
It was pathetic.
Yeah.
It's truly embarrassing. Because that wasn't the only play as well. There was one, it was a Grendo run where Diggs didn't want to tackle him. He kind of fucking Superman at him with his shoulder rather than just make a tackle. Because he doesn't want the contact. And if you don't want to have the contact, then you better be the best ball playing cornerback in the league. And Diggs has had his moments, but he's not that today, and he wasn't that yesterday. So I do want to. I can't remember the reporter's name annoyingly, but the reporter held firm and tried to get an answer to his question, which I love that. I hate when you see the reporters go soft and try and back down and try to neutralize the situation. No, you should be asked questions. You want to be Billy Big Mouth, then give an answer to the fans the reporters who are asking questions of you. You were embarrassing. And I think Jane Slater, who's NFL Network, Cowboys insider, she said yesterday the locker room in Dallas is as bad as it's ever been. I don't think we're getting Mike McCarthy fired before the end of the season, but he's obviously gone at the end of the season, and big changes needed.
Yeah, I think we just look at this whole squad. I think the most disappointing part of the Cowboys is you could see what the issues was before the season started, and it's even after the end of off season, when all the free agents went and everything, you're when Brock Purdy's got just as much yards as your whole rushing attack at 56 yards, it's a huge problem. Either side was the issue, and they felt they never addressed it. And you're going in with Elliott and Cook it's 8 years ago and thinking that it's going to suddenly turn into. I don't know whoever was the guy on the commentary. I forgot who it was now, but he's like, "Oh, Dalvin Cook, he's bringing a new thing for this Cowboys running game. It looks like he's evolved it, and he ran 6 carries for 12 yards. Yeah. It's just like calm down, and it's just not good. But I do agree their defense did step up a few big sacks. I don't know how Purdy kept hold of that ball.
Yeah, the
when they were
overshot.
down just 6. Yeah,
the overshot. I couldn't believe it. So I watched it this morning. I just watched the 40-minute version to run through it before work this morning, and that was the moment when the overshot hit him. I was just fully expecting that ball to fly out, and probably the key moment in the game because the Cowboys get the ball back there. Again, it's a different position. All of a sudden, it's a spark. But I know the Niners pretty good. Obviously, they've had a bit of a rough time of it. Hopefully, for the Niners, I think we're going to get potential for McCaffrey back sooner rather than later. Yeah,
because we've got the bye next week, and they expect him to be back. Greenlaw a couple of more weeks.
Yeah,
I think it's perfect because Debo went out again with a rib injury. Hittle's being banged up. I'm not sure. Obviously, they're on the 3rd kicker now. I don't think. I think they might stick with him against Tampa. Carson actually performed well compared to how he's been doing in Green Bay, so that was a big thing. That kickers just need to stop tackling players when they do kickoffs because that was 2 in 2 weeks the kicker got injured. Happy with 49ers. I just wish they can just win easily. Just be 17 points up and just stick with 17 points up at the end of the game. Not.
Do I get the violin out, Paul?
Yeah.
My team doesn't win easily enough. Oh, poor Joe.
What? This year they've been 2 games that was winning by 10 in the 4th quarter and lost, and they've been leading by more than 10 and somehow going down to the last possession. It's not good for the heart. Well, you being a Cowboys fan, you just expect to lose. So it's like it's not as up and down. And
I mean, they were one of my preseason picks. To be fair, you guys had them both in the playoffs. I had them not to make the playoffs at nearly plus 200. Feeling great about that.
Yeah, I think you're right at this point. You see, the run for the Cowboys doesn't get any easier. They've got the Falcons this week, who've also been playing a lot better. I think they've got the Eagles. It's just a terrible run.
Before we move on, can we just do a shout out for the patron saint of National Tight End Day? George Kittle moves into the 500 club for the 49ers. 500 catches now. Joining, sure, Joe can rattle them off, but Dwight Clark, 506, Roger Craig, 508, Terrell Owens, 592. And then just to fucking highlight how ridiculous this guy is, Jerry Rice, 1,281 catches as a 49er. How ridiculous is that? What an incredible guy. But George Kittle getting in that 500. Was he a 4th round draft pick, Joe, 2017? I think 4th or 5th.
4th, 5th, yeah.
Yeah, who doesn't love George Kittle, even when it's against your team? He's just a vibrant, incredibly fun, and incredibly good tight end who sometimes doesn't get the fantasy numbers and some of the recognition he deserves because he does so much blocking and he's so good at it. But I love that on a big national tight end day, he got to shine the most on Sunday Night Football, as much as it pains me being a Dallas fan.
It was the way to finish it, wasn't it? After Titans have been so successful all throughout the day. Niners 4-4 in what has become a very, very intriguing and interesting NFC West. Cowboys 3-4, and I think they're done. I don't think they're winning many more games the rest of the way. Let's get to our rest of the review for our 4-fold challenge. Could we make it back-to-back weeks with a 4-fold after my win last week? Sadly, the answer to that was no. I was the only one who was close. Again, Byron, you went 1-3, Joe 2-2, Fletch, the guest, went 1-3, and I went 3-1. Game we've already talked about cost me the Commanders Bears being a stinker of a game, apart from the ending. Sadly, therefore, I was miles under.
Well, that'd have been somewhere to win the 4-fold if that took you over, though.
If that had been for the over, unbelievable stuff. But
not close.
Sadly not. Byron, we'll run with your 4. So you had the Broncos as 10-point favourites against the Panthers. They covered, the one by 14, 28-14. Pretty comfortable afternoon's work for the Denver Broncos, who are now 5-3.
Yeah, fair play to them. Bo Nix is looking pretty good. Again, you kind of have to caveat everything against Panthers being against Panthers. I did love Sean Payton at the end of this game as well. A couple of the Panthers players complained about the Broncos running up the score. I mean, it was 28-14, right? I mean, it wasn't 70-14.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sean Payton was asked about it, and he said, if you don't want us to run up the score, it's the NFL. Play better.
Yeah.
Which is 100%, and that's always my viewpoint as well. I hate these things of like, don't celebrate, don't run up the score, don't do this. If you don't like something someone does on the NFL field, we'll stop them.
Do something about it, yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely pathetic by the Panthers to complain about that. Generally pathetic by most of the Panthers on the field. Although I will say, Bryce Young 224 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions still, obviously. Jalen Coker, a bit of a breakout game, 78 yards and a touchdown. Leggett got a touchdown as well. I've been a bit impressed with this Jalen Coker. I think he was either undrafted or really late draft pick. But again, I play a lot of like deep dynasty leagues, so like these little late picks like I kind of take attention to in the summer. But yeah, he had a really good training camp, and obviously it's turned into a big game from here today. So that may be some kind of spark of life for their offense going forward. No feeling. Deontay Johnson seems like he's going to get traded, and I think he probably could have played yesterday, but I think it's a case of keeping fit so he can get some capital back for them. It's probably going to be a 5th round pick. It's not going to be much, maybe a 6th.
He seems to be the one now, doesn't he? So any of the others, so Cup now, the Rams are kind of seem to be getting back gone. Christian Kirk broke his collarbone, is now out for the season, so he could have been a trade candidate. I think Deontay Johnson's kind of the other one left now. Yeah,
and I think, don't want to get ahead, but like he seems like such a good fit for that Godwin Cup role in Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay need a receiver, 1-year contract. They're still in play for the division. Like, yeah, it seems like a real easy pick for me. But I mean, yeah, just a shout out the Broncos. They've been better than I thought they would be. The defense is really, still looking like one of the best in the NFL. Bo Nix is functional. I think he's a little inflated by playing really safe, and he's running really well. But that's absolutely fine. He's a rookie. He doesn't need to be, I was going to say Peyton Manning, but he's maybe playing better than Peyton. I was going to say Patrick Mahomes, but he might be playing better than Patrick Mahomes right now. Overall. So, but I mean, pretty flawless game. 280 odd yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, high percentage completion. I think basically just kind of the game we expected, other than I don't know if I expected the Panthers to get 14 points.
No, yeah, bringing Payton seems to be bringing Knicks along nicely. And they're up against the worst passing defense in the NFL next week as 9-point underdogs against the Ravens.
Yeah, and not an easy defense for the Ravens to go against either. So it'll be interesting. Really interesting matchup. You said that's a 9-pointer, right?
It is, 9-point underdogs right now. The Broncos, it just seems too big a number. So that's Broncos. 5-3, Panthers 1-7, and it's just going to be sad even more than it already is for the Panthers. You're on the under for Jets Patriots to hit the over, and then you're on the over for the Bills Seahawks. The Bills held up their end of the bargain, scoring 31. Seahawks didn't, only scoring 10. The Seahawks were pretty poor here. The Bills go to 6-2 here. The Seahawks are 4-4, and it was just a mess all the way through for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, just couldn't get anything going. Period. It was pouring down. O-line might be the worst performance of the season, and it's been a bad year for their O-line.
There's been plenty of them, yeah.
Yeah, there was one. I mean, I had Kenneth Walker as rushing leader on the day, thinking they were going to lean on him and get him going, and that'd really, especially with no DK Metcalf, that was really going to be the focus of their offense. And he got 9 carries. Really not what I anticipated. And it kind of epitomized by one Connor Williams snap, which went way over Geno's head. And Kenneth Walker got dinged for 19 yards minus on recovering the ball. So, when you're like, I don't think it's going to be my day here. He's going to do some work to get back up to positive yardage. Is not what you want to do when you've bet on someone to lead the day in rushing. Seahawks just did not get going. They're still in play for the division because the division's weird. And they can still win against most teams when things go right. But when things go wrong, they go really wrong. They seem to be one of those teams where it's like 0 or 100. There's not really much of the 50s. Great performance by the Bills, though. Keon Coleman had a standout game again, 17 a touchdown. Shakir, 10 catches and over 100 yards. Kincaid got in the end zone as well, which is really nice to see for someone. I mean, I don't have much of Kincaid in fantasy, to be fair, but he's he needs to be playing well for what they've invested in him. And one of my favorite players was just like Keon Coleman blocking. He looks like a bad boy. Like he was just shoving the cornerbacks around. And there was one, I think it was a James Cook running play, where like he just shoved the corner down and just kind of stood over him. And you're like, okay, yeah, this guy's got the right attitude.
I think it's the one where he pushed him into the benches as well. And he said, like, pushed him all the way out. I think they both got personal foul, but yeah.
Yeah, Keon Coleman, I think we knew we were going to. He was quite a character from early on in the off season with just some of his sound bites, and then that one-handed grab for his touchdown was unbelievable. That's kind of two games where we've seen him kind of get a lot of attention. Yeah. He's got 5-17 in the touchdown, as you mentioned, after his big week last week as well. Have you seen his Booking.com advert?
No.
Go watch it. So I'll post a link in our chat. You have to go watch it afterwards. I will share it on our socials. It is fucking hilarious.
Bills are in a good spot now, though. Obviously being 6-2 and way ahead in that division.
Clear, aren't they? Yeah, that division's done. In it, 6-2. That division's done. Yeah.
And when you got like Coleman firing, you've just brought Cooper in, who didn't do too much, but both the tight ends are doing something now, and Shakir comes back and gets a 100-yard game. It's certainly very handy for the Bills, and I think they're doing a lot better than a lot of people expected this year. I think some people thought they would drop off compared to last year, so certainly doing well. And just talk about Connor Williams. He was back-to-back, wasn't he? Obviously, he had the one with Kenneth Walker, and then the next play after the Allen inception on the 1 or 2 yard line, he stood on Geno snapping it, and they fumbled that, and that cost them as well. So not much went right for the Seahawks. And they've got the Rams, 49ers, and Cardinals in the next 3 weeks. So all NFC West flashes coming up.
Yeah. Rams are a 1-point underdog next week in Seattle, and Seattle got taken over. So Seattle's famed for it. It's obviously 12th man and home support. Bills Mafia took over Lumen Field on Sunday, and it was like a Buffalo Bills home game.
Yeah, they're 2-3 at home, Seattle. So.
Yeah. NFC West real interesting, and the Bills, look like they're going to walk away with the AFC East unless something crazy happens. And then your underdog, you took the Buccaneers as your underdog, Byron, and they fell short, 31-26 to the Falcons. The Falcons have the 2 wins over the Bucs now, so there's a huge advantage for them down the stretch for the NFC South. Made a bit of a meal of it though, because they looked like they were 24-7 up at one point, Atlanta, weren't they? It looked 24. No. What was it? No. Yeah, 24-7 up, I think they were at one point.
No. 21-14 up.
21-14, sorry.
21-17 up, 24-17. They were 31-17 up. There we go. Yeah. Sorry, I'm literally looking down there.
There we go.
Score by score. Spot, So they were 14 points going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and Bucs kind of made it close down the way. Kyle Pitts had a huge game in this one as well with his 2 touchdowns. We almost had the kind of Deshaun Jackson at the goal line situation.
He was a lucky boy.
And Winfield almost made it back to knock it out. When I first saw it, I thought Winfield had done enough, but just broke the plane with it. Cousins, huge game, 23-29 for 276 and 4 touchdowns.
Safety.
And safety, Kyle Pitts, Dan Almini, big games, and a massive one. It's just
Kirk Cousins' first ever NFL player to put up 800 yards on the same team in a month.
Nice.
It's held by the scheduling, isn't it? That one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd say one big worry for the Falcons though is that Koo missed another important kick.
Yeah,
like they were 5 ahead. And they just need that field goal just to put the game away, and he missed it. And I feel like he's missed 1 or 2 this year, so you don't want that going down the stretch if your kicker's missing these crunch time kicks.
Yeah, K. Dotton's obviously stepped into the gap that Godwin and Evans had left, being injured. 9 for 81 and 2 touchdowns. It was a great fantasy game day shout, Byron, for our team. I'm sure many others had him, picked him up as well. But it was just too much to overcome for the Bucs. Mayfield, a couple of turnovers as well. Like I say, you think they're going to be active in the market. You mentioned potentially a landing spot for Deontay Johnson. It feels like they're going to be missing Evans for another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Are the Bucks
That's
the kind
why-
of team to do trades, though? I don't know if they...
They traded away Carlton Davis in the offseason. In season, I'm trying to think of any that stand out. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I've not got any off the top of my head that I can remember.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think Deontay Johnson would be a good fit if they think they can still get the division. And if they don't think they can get the division, then it's going to be a bleak rest of the season. I know they're in a bad position, but if I was them, I'd just throw something at Deontay Johnson, at the Panthers for Johnson, and see if you can get him over there. Because, I don't think Sterling Shepard, Jalen McMillan, Cade Otton is going to be enough to win games down the stretch. They need something else. I think Deontay Johnson is the best you can do. So I think that's the best fit for him, and a realistic trade option for the Bucks as well. But so I'd be doing it if I was them.
Sadly, Byron, you were 1 and 3. Not good for you. Joe, you're a little bit closer, 2 and 2. Your favourite though, Green Bay Packers -4. I took them at -3.5 on a bet anyway. They won by 3, 30 to 27 against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. It wasn't pretty from the Packers, but they got the job done. Josh Jacobs again with another huge game on the ground. Tucker Kraft, who's fast becoming my favourite tight end. Seems every week he has a huge play. And Jordan Love's injured, might miss a game.
Yeah, I saw the head coach saying he has no idea, but there's a slight worry around him that it could be a lot more than just one game. But I think they needed this. This was a big win for the Packers to keep up with the Lions, and I think they've got the Lions next. So to get this win in the bag to go into that game, because they're probably going to be playing Willis, but Willis has played 2.5 games. Actually looked a good quarterback, which probably proves that it's more about the surroundings than the quarterback sometimes, especially with these backups. So, yes, and it played well. Love typical self. Threw for quite 196 yards, but had an INT. I was fairly confident with this bet going halfway through. But then obviously when Love goes out, it changes things a little bit. I thought they played well. Obviously, the Jags, I think I called it in the previous game about Trevor Lawrence that he can throw some balls up to grab and he can fumble, and I think he did it maybe back to back, or he was certainly close to each other. So, I think Jags are one of them teams where this season might be a write-off and another clear out because they're 2 and 6, and I think Brian Thomas got injured making a touchdown grab, and then Christian Kirk made a crazy catch, and he's broke his collarbone and out for the season as well. So it's typical Jags kind of year. What happened where they feel like they take 1 step forward and 2 step back. It just feels like that kind of because they have the chance to win it, but just not quite getting over the hump and getting these victories, and a good Packers victory. And I wonder if he's the favourite to win, the head coach, the
Matt LaFleur.
Matt LaFleur, just with what he's done with Willis, and obviously depends the rest of the season, but he's certainly be up there.
Yeah, if he gets another win or 2 with Malik Willis, then why the hell not? Kind of the Packers 6 and 2, huge game against the Lions next week for the division purposes. Jaguars just real sad to watch, I'm afraid. Played a lot better in this one, but sadly not enough. And
Brian Thomas out for 2 to 4 weeks, by the way.
Yeah,
and they've got Eagles, Vikings, Lions next 3.
Texans,
the next 4.
We shouted out the run last week, didn't we? This 5-game stretch. I don't think Doug Peterson will make it. And now they've just lost 2 wide receivers as well, and not really anyone. There's just Evan Ingram left for Trevor Lawrence to throw the ball to now. Moving on. They covered that. At least they covered. That's maybe Doug Peterson could take that to Shad and Tony Khan.
Good teams win. Great teams cover Shad.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we send him a hoodie or something?
Maybe I'll get one. Unless somebody that's watching and listening wants to do some extras, that'd be great. For free, preferably. Kat, your over was Cardinals, Dolphins, and Tua's return. was sadly ruined by the Cardinals winning it on a walk-off field goal. But Tua was back, and this Miami offense all of a sudden looked miles better, unsurprisingly.
Yeah, it was a strange game when he started because I had a bet on the Dolphins to win as well and to cover. I think it was 3.5, and he felt fairly comfortable. They were 10-0 up in the first quarter, gaining all these yards, and the Cardinals can be up and down, and he felt like, this is going to be a down game, but it felt like they did that in the first and second half, and they just was chipping away at that lead. Obviously, getting another team with a safety. And they brought it back. Yeah, they're 27-18 down in the fourth quarter and managed to win this game. It's I don't know what to say about the Dolphins again. I think it's another team. It's better just to write off now. I think they can improve and be one of these teams what might end up with 7 wins somehow, but I don't think they're doing it. Like, even with Tua back, you can't lose this Cardinals team at home. With all that possession, it's disappointing.
Their end of season is, does Mike McDaniel keep his job?
I think so now,
I think that's what their season is now. I fully agree they're not making the playoffs. I mean, it's wild if they make the playoffs, but it just needs to be Mike McDaniel needs to show enough signs of life on his offense that
the issue is though this way of playing football, that his when you call it, I hate his philosophy or whatever. It's not winning football. Anytime it gets tough, it doesn't hold up. So when you've got to find a way to beat the Bills, because that's what this Dolphins team needs to do, they cannot beat the Bills. And the way they play, something is changing. Man, I think Mike McDaniel's for the fanfare, I've been so disappointed in this year. I thought this was a real opportunity for him. Obviously, you don't want to go down, but it's go right. You show you can, how creative your offense is and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, exactly what Joseph said about Matt LaFleur being a coach of the year.
Yeah,
is exactly why Mike McDaniel should be struggling to hold him to his job. Because at no point, I'm sure, having signed Malik Willis with 10 days before the season started, and him having to play in week 2. And, Mike McDaniel's had Skylar Thompson in the building forever. And, as soon as their quarterbacks go down, LaFleur turns it into a winning organization with a guy who everyone thinks is an absolute joke, Malik Willis, shouldn't be in the NFL. Whereas McDaniel essentially rolls on his back and asks for his belly to be rubbed. It is... It's embarrassing, really, isn't it? Let's just be simple about it.
And as good as the Bills are, that division, it's crazy saying the 6-2 team, but the rest of the 2-win teams, that's the worst division in football right now. The AFC East, isn't it? With the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots. Dolphins are going to have to kind of get on it sharpish if they're going to try and get in the mix for a wild card spot. And the nature of it, you just get a couple of wins, because of the 7 slots.
Yeah, and I think what's crazy about, when you actually look at the breakdown of the game, they went 10 plays, 64 yards for the touchdown. Then they got 12 plays, 40 yards field goal. Then they have a punt, just 6 plays, 14 yards. But then they have another field goal, 13 plays, 80 yards. A touchdown, 6 plays, 70 yards. They have the safety. Another 9 plays, 70 yards. And 8 plays, 20. So they had big stretches. And it was just, again, a weird game where it was actually their defense that let them down, because obviously the Cardinals did the exact same thing where there wasn't actually that many possessions for either team, but the team who had the ball basically the end won the game. And going into, they've got Buffalo next week, and I don't think they're at Buffalo. They're definitely not favourites to win that. Then they're at Rams. You lose them 2 games, 2-7. When does it get to a point where you think, I don't think they'll do this just because people are trying to keep their jobs, but do you think there'll ever be a time to be like, let's put 2 on the bench. Let's try and save for next year because this year's already gone? Maybe,
I don't know, but you have to start picking up some wins quickly, aren't you? Maybe if they win 3 of the next 4, but I just can't see them doing it at the minute. It's sad. Sad run for the Dolphins that were expecting to be fun, and they've been anything but that because of obviously circumstances, but they've just not helped themselves. But Cardinals, right, in that mix in the NFC West.
Yeah, 100%.
The way that's
4-4. Everyone's got 4 losses in that division.
Everyone does, yeah. could see the Rams. Obviously, the Rams are obviously had their bye week, so they could be there. They could be tying it up soon. Eagles, Bengals next. That was your underdog and under. So the Eagles won the game outright. They just dog walked the Bengals in the second half, didn't they? 37-17. Yeah, I'm out on the Bengals now.
I was about to say.
Yeah, I'm giving it up. I'm giving it up, Joe. Finally,
I'm
ready to let it go.
When we do our power rankings next week, if they're still in the top 10 after the last 2 weeks, yeah,
they'll be 12. No, plummeting. The defense just comes. I know Eagles are a good rushing attack, but they just wore the Bengals down, and that second half just ran all over them. A little bit of a selfish shout out here. I know we're doing your 4-4, Joe, but my same game parlay hit. The Eagles rushing treble, which was over 29.5 attempts, over 133.5 rush yards, and over 1.5 rushing touchdowns. Comfortable 39 rushes for 161 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. So plus 425, we'll take that. Pretty successful. Byron, you had Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown score at plus 160. Joe, you had part of my parlay, which was the Eagles over 29.5 rush attempts, and also had Devontae Smith anytime touchdown because T. Higgins didn't play. You double, obviously, downgraded to the single. Hit that as well. So 4 out of 5. Not bad going on. Bengals, Eagles.
Yeah, okay. And I actually doubled up mine. I went with the Arizona yards as well. So I managed to cash a little bit there. So
cash a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a strange game, obviously, because I remember I think midway through the second quarter, you messaged Paul saying basically the opposite. The Bengals are doing whatever they want to this Eagles defense. I think every time I kept going on watching the game, it was like, oh, the Bengals have got 3rd down. Oh, they've hit it. I think they were like something like 6 for 6 or something daft like that. They were just hitting every single 3rd down, and the Eagles just couldn't get off the field. It's obviously went 10-3 up and then missed the field goal, which, when you look at it, that could have been a big momentum changer. And then the Eagles went down and scored a touchdown just before halftime. I was feeling fairly confident with the under at halftime when it was just 10-10. And it felt like, even though Bengals were dominating, they couldn't put up the points. But then the second half, the Eagles just, ran all over them. And when he went, the Bengals, was it 3 possessions in a row? They went downs, interception, then fumble, then end game. Yeah. So if that's how you finish a game, you're going to lose most games. And this was a game, I think, coming into about, everyone was like, let's see what these teams are made of, because they've been weird teams where not quite sure if they're any good or not. They can beat bad teams, but they don't always play good against good teams. And I feel like that was the best Hurts game, best Eagles game, and obviously 5-2 and just a game back from the Commanders. Certainly in it. I think a few weeks ago, I was thinking the Eagles could have slid away and have like the Cowboys record at this point, but they've been putting some wins together and looked really impressive. And the best of luck this year.
Yeah, kind of getting back to the team that they were the first half of last season, I think. That formula for success that's working. 7-point favourites at home to the Jaguars next week. The Bengals have their 7.5-point favourites at home to the Raiders. Bengals haven't won a home game yet. That's a big number for the way the Bengals are playing at the minute. That was yours.
Ever the Eagles have covered against in Cincinnati as well. So, when we're doing this in 30 years' time, just remember that the number 1 was Taste by Sabrina Carpenter and a bar song brackets Tipsy by Shabuzi in the US. So get those logged in for a few years from now when we're doing when was the first time the Eagles covered against the Bengals?
If I've not been able to retire off the back of earnings from good teams and great teams cover in 30 years' time and be able to stop doing it, I'm going to be very sad.
Prepare to be very sad.
So 2-2 for you, Joe. We've mentioned one of my games already. So the one that killed me was the lack of points in Commanders. Bears. I forgot they played for a second there. I took the Raiders to cover against the Chiefs, and they did. Chiefs only won by 7. But they're 7-0. Cruising again. I mean, it wasn't pretty. Kelsey had a big game, 10 for 90 yards and a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes threw another interception. That's 8 games, 7. That'd be impressive if it was 8 games in a row, wouldn't it? 7 games in a row to start the season. But who gives a fuck? They're still winning.
And it was such big when he threw the interception, how the Raiders didn't get it in there on the 4-yard line to take the lead. I'm guessing you were stressed then when you were trying to hit that underdog, because they didn't get in then, and then the fumble the series afterwards to go down 14. But impressive to they managed to get a touchdown back. But at that point I thought, this is a game which we're talking about, that the Raiders are going to beat the Chiefs. This is the game they're going to lose when Patrick Mahomes throws interception and they bring it back down to the 34-yard line. But the problem is, when I was watching the 4 players, it never felt like they were going to get into the end zone. And I think that's the most impressive thing about the Chiefs defense. They do it against 49ers, a lot of teams. When it's in them kind of positions, it never, you never think, oh, they're going to score, like against most defenses. You think they're going to have to do something extraordinary in order to score here. And that's a sign of a great defense. And it probably cost them, if the Raiders scored that, who knows what happens, because, if Mahomes have to throw it more and another interception could have happened. But hey ho, it's the Chiefs. Play average, 7-0.
Yeah.
So annoying.
Word of, I'll just give some advice as NFL offensive coordinators. Stop trying to run it through the middle of the Chiefs' defensive line. Just stop doing it.
That Chris Jones was pretty good, right?
Yeah, there's just absolutely no point.
And
you're only going to go backwards.
The Chiefs take Joshua's chair. Which chair? From the Chiefs. They are the Chiefs from the Patriots for a 6th round pick. Just a absolute no-brainer. Useful pass rusher, and you can never have too many, right? Especially as you get towards the business end. So just
he'll be sacking the quarterback in the Super Bowl in order for him to win it, before or to get the ball back for them. Mahomes took it to Hopkins scoring the winning touchdown. It's just
So you don't think Trent Williams is blocking Purdy well enough in that Super Bowl?
Obviously not. No.
It'll obviously be the 49ers again, because that's how it is. And you'll be there going, "Why don't they win easy enough?"
They'll win by 20 and end up losing it.
Chiefs 7-0, Raiders 2-6, and where's it going to be? Who's going to beat the Chiefs? Is anybody going to beat the Chiefs? We'll see. Chiefs are primetime next week. The Monday Night Football at home to the Bucs as 9-point favourites. Just going to take the number. I'm just going to take all these massive underdogs. ATS. Give me 9. I don't think the Chiefs will cover it, but they'll win. Win easily, but not cover somehow. On to my under, and I've just got one. There's just one point really I want to talk about on this one. If there's anything you want to, so I mentioned Anthony Richardson in the preview. Give me an Anthony Richardson game for an under. It hits just about. I don't really know how, because it looked like for all the world it was going to go over, and
especially when it was a fumble recovery and the touchdown.
Yeah. But Anthony Richardson came out of the game. I thought he got dinged up and was out because he was injured again. But no, apparently he just needed a breather. I've never seen a quarterback do that in an NFL game before.
Yeah, Ryan Kelly, the veteran Colts center, said that he spoke to him about his responsibilities today, which I think is fair. I think the thing was, it left him at 3rd and 25 or something like that. It was a play and it was a handoff. So, I think in itself, it didn't matter, but
it says a lot, though, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I'm going to try to get at. No, you're fine. The play itself doesn't matter, but you are the leader of that franchise. I don't care if you've only started 8 games, 7 games, whatever it is, or you've only completed 7 or 8 games. It's just not right. I mean, you remember the images, Donovan McNabb throwing up on the Super Bowl against the Patriots, Eagles.
Matt Stafford. Remember that one? Putting his shoulder back in.
Against the Browns. That's what you do. You do anything to be on that field. And going out because you're a bit tired, in even, say, a play where you're just handing the ball off to make your field goal more acceptable, even just lie. just say you were feeling something.
Yeah, to come out and say it
It
is insane. Like you had the excuse was there because he took a big hit. Obviously, when he rushed, I really thought he was hurt again because he took a hit, a horrible angle, and it just looked like he. So yeah, I was dinged up. I just needed to come out. That you can swallow that a bit more because of his injury history and stuff like that. And
it was like hitting his helmet over and over again.
Yeah, it was just like I was literally tapped out. Is what he did. Just bizarre thing, and then to just say it in the press conference is just the most.
Yeah, I kind of wonder. Like, it almost like I'm saying it's a leadership thing. I wonder if it's just a maturity thing as well. Like, and like that's not a compliment. You know what I mean? Like, it goes hand in hand with the leadership, but like, I do think there's like a kind of. I don't want to sound like old man yelling at a cloud, but like, I think there is like a kind of element of these younger quarterbacks who don't get what it is to be a face of a franchise, and I think there's a kind of a bit of it, like it is an age thing generally. Like I kind of think you see it with Premier League players as well. Of like, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be like that respect of their position. I think to a degree, like there's no chance you'd have had Tom Brady at any point in his career say something like that. He wouldn't have done it in the first place. But like those esteemed quarterbacks kind of get there through like sacrifice and dedication, and that not even so much like will to win as like the hatred to lose, and it just doesn't feel like it's there. And Richardson obviously had a bad game, period. I think that the stats are more damning than his performance, truthfully, because he had a lot of drop catches yesterday.
Yeah. But we talked about it where like he can throw it deep and that looks, there's another bomb on there, like it looks great. But if you can't complete 10, 15-yard passes over the middle,
wasn't it like the stat at halftime that if he didn't have that PS touchdown, which was like a huge blown coverage, and it was on his own, it would have been like 1 for 10 and 18 yards or something like that. It was
I think
like,
it was
something.
Yards, maybe.
Yeah, that.
And even that was it. Josh Downs who got that blown coverage touchdown, I think.
Oh, Downs.
Downs. Yeah, it was Josh Downs.
He underthrew him.
Yeah.
Like Downs had to like stop and get the ball and then carry on running, but like some of them, even the 10-15 ones are like, I think it was Kylan Granson dropped a couple. I forget the receiver's name. Dropped a couple. There was one dropped in the end zone that like, I'm not going to say they were easy catches, but like they were catches you'd expect your wide receivers to make.
Yeah,
and I think when you combine that with like how bad the stat line is, it's like you really need your receivers to step up a little bit as well, because like, it is damning, and it just, I guess they're gonna stick with Richardson because the division's
I don't know. So I don't know if you've seen Shane Steichen's spoke to the press today. He's evaluating everything.
Okay, interesting. My thing was going to be like now they're 2 games behind.
Yeah.
They are falling forward, so he's still in it, really. Like the actual playoff picture.
Yeah, they're in the playoff picture, but are they only going to stay in that if they play Joe Flacco? I just don't. Richards, it might just genuinely be better. I know it's hard to say you don't learn anything if you sit him, but I don't know. It might be better for him to learn and sit. I just
it might well be.
I'm not seeing him getting any better.
At least if you're gonna have him on the bench, though, get him on the bike because he needs to get his cardio up.
So you say McAfee's been all over it today, just digging him out. Rightly so. It's an insane thing to do. And then in the post game press conference, after he made the comment about being tired, he continues going about how what a great runner he is. So he doesn't have to be as good of a passer because he's such a great runner. So we get knackered, mate. So
yeah, and I mean he went 6 for 45 running. It's not like he was.
Yeah, it's not.
He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Jaden Daniels. Like he's a good runner.
He had the modesty to say he wasn't as good of a runner as Lamar Jackson. He says, I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best quarterbacks running the ball. Oh, maybe apart from Lamar, is the quote.
Didn't he also chuck over like a 300-pound lineman as well? I did see that during the game. He just absolutely destroyed a lineman, so he can do it all. I just want to go on the flip side as well. Obviously, Diggs went down injured on a non-contact injury, and usually when that happens, that could be done for the year.
It's an ACL, if not confirmed yet, but all reporting seems to be they expect it to be.
And I think that's massive for Houston because I'm a big Tank Dell fan, but I just don't think he's a number one wide receiver. He's just not produced the last few weeks, and it's getting to a point. I obviously did the week before, but not this week. It's getting to a point now. I think teams know how to play the Texans, where you just rush the hell out of CJ Stroud because I think most of the time he's under pressure, and that O-line's not working well. But another 100-yard game for Mixon, Paul. So getting towards your 1,000-yard bet.
We're getting there. Yeah, he was one of my 5 running backs on my running back parlay that sadly didn't hit. But yeah, I think we're there. What do you think? He's over 500 now?
Yeah, 503.
503. We're just before halfway.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And he's playing so well.
Yeah, he's playing well.
To stay fit, sure. And you got your 1,000 yards, right? Obviously, you're saying
1,000 yards, over 1,000 yards, yeah. So we'll see if he can keep up the good work. Houston feels like they need Nico Collins back sooner rather than later, doesn't it? And I don't know how soon that's going to be.
I think it'll be week 10. I think that's the soonest he can return, and that's when he's expected to return. But yeah, it's going to be 1 week with Tank Dell as wide receiver 1, and John Mechie wide receiver 2. That Robert Woods. Dalton Schultz maybe a consideration for Fantasy Gameday next week based on that. Yeah. And Joe Mixon, eat till you puke, Joe. Yeah. Which is Mixon is 2 carries, but hopefully it's more for Joe Mixon.
Yeah, and it helps with their schedule as well. They haven't actually they've got a few tough games, but they've also got some not too tough games. So I think should be all right to get to.
We'll talk about their next game before we finish because they're on Thursday Night Football. And then I had the Lions as my favourite, and this was real fun. I also took the over in this game as well, and it cashed, I think, before halftime. It was an insane game. The Detroit Lions.
Did you just put money on the Lions to hit the over?
Yeah, I should have done. Yeah, but the Lions. I mean, they didn't necessarily do it on offense. They didn't do it on defense. They did it in the return game.
They had no return yards. They had never had an offense.
Yeah, different ways to win football games. And look, I've won my fantasy football game this week, right? But one of my quarterbacks was Jared Goff. And he only scored me 15 fantasy points this week. And his team put up 52.
Well, we were chatting with Fletch in our corner of the Sleep at Work Discord. And yeah, I think we both warned against Jared Goff because the game script won't favour it. I mean, they ended up putting up 52 points, kind of like right result, wrong process, maybe. But yeah, this is the fewest total yards on offense team has ever put up in the Super Bowl era and scored 50 plus points, 225 yards, which is.
And I'm going to blow my own horn here. I did recommend Khalif Raymond on the preview show as a Fantasy Game Day. Cheap one for 2,000 and gets 190 yards just on punt returns. And he also got a touchdown as well on wide receiver.
I mean, none of which would have counted for Fantasy Game Day, though, right?
Does it not count? Does that not count? Sure.
No, that would be defensive special teams.
That's right.
That would not. None of it would have counted. Yeah.
That's a lot of beep.
Yeah, it's defensive special team.
Well, he still got a touchdown in the air, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for 2,200 is a good play if you get a touchdown. But
surely you would, because I got his touchdown. I had him in my anytime touchdown, Ben. When he got the punt return, he got that hit.
I will double check the rules and Gummy, if you're listening, clarify for us. But I'm fairly certain none of that counted in Fantasy Game Day.
I couldn't understand the yards, but at least the touchdown.
Yeah. Defensive special team touchdown, yeah. But yeah, it was. I mean, finally, Sam Laporte had a bit of a game. It's been a struggle for him. The week I leave him on my bench in fantasy football, but again, not needed. One, and the Titans again look good for a little bit. Again, Mason Rudolph. Look, I'm going to get some of these Tennessee Titans first quarter lines because Mason Rudolph on those first couple of drives looks good.
Yeah, it looks better than Will Levis, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I know I had the interception, but and Calvin Ridley just had a monster game out of absolutely nowhere. 10 for 143 yards.
Oh, I tell you what. I was tempted by Calvin Ridley as my receiving leader just because I know he has his flaws. I know he has his bad weeks. I still think Calvin Ridley is a pretty good wide receiver. He's just so inconsistent. he missed out by 4 yards, and boy, am I pleased, because he was 80-1, and I really considered him with the matchup. No DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
It's like he can get to 110, he can get 105 yards. Like, that's doable. Obviously, he went off. But CeeDee Lamb beat him out by 4 yards last night. So, like, I was so pleased because I was just so frustrated all day that, like, the amount of times I've backed Calvin Ridley for this bet, it's probably 4 or 5 over the last 2 seasons. And I think he's come close a couple of times. And a couple of times he's got, like, 10.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, when I finally go, like, he's burned me 2 times, I'm not going to do it. He goes for 100 and, what did you say, 84?
43.
143, sorry, yeah. And then, just watching the end of this Cowboys game, I was like, oh, thank God, because, like, that would have been an awful sweat if I'd lost to CeeDee Lamb at the end there. So I was really pleased. I did just want to mention as well, Khalif Raymond. So in the Scott Fish Bowl, which I highly recommend everyone applies for and plays, because it's some very fun fantasy tournament, nearly 4,000 people this year. I'm sure it'll go up again next year. You score for return yardage if you're a player at a higher rate than you do for running and rushing the ball catches. Khalif Raymond yesterday scored 57.9 Scott Fish Bowl points. He got 38 points for his return yards. He got 10 points for his return touchdown. Then all the rest of his points as well.
Good stuff. Yeah, just a weird game. But yeah, Lions roll on. Big game against the Packers next week. The Titans play the Patriots. Yeah, 4-4 challenge. Yeah, just so close. I think I've gone 3-1, 4-0, 3-1 last few weeks. So I'm right there with it.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go back to back this week, to be fair. I called it.
Yeah. Especially when that Colts and Texans amount stayed under. It was on.
I got a bit lucky with that, to be fair. But yeah, we'll see if we can do it next week. Fletch, he also had his Lions as an 11-point favourite. I guess he had the Cowboys as his underdog, over in Colts, Texans, and under in Jets, Patriots. So 1-3 for Fletch. I lead the way 19-12-1. Joe next 14-17-1. And meh. Yeah, Joe 14-17-1. Byron 14-18, and the guests bringing up the rear 13-18-1. So Byron, you're in the seat at the minute. Where would you be going? For the locked in a fast food restaurant chain for 24
we need
hours.
to quickly tell the guests to change their flights because they were going to come to Calgary, but they're going to redirect to Chicago.
Maybe just go for the full Chicago experience. We'll go Portillo's.
Portillo's?
Yeah, it's a...
hot dogs.
Hot dogs, Italian beef, great cheese fry.
It's a very substantial thing to be eating. You have to...
Well, I think, to be fair, I think we'd have to have some kind of grading system, because if I'm eating Italian beefs, that is not a taco.
No.
So maybe 12 or, we'll figure out. I'm not worried about it.
We'll figure out the great skill, yeah.
I'm not worried about finishing bottom either. I think, it's been a bad first half of the season, but we're hitting mid-season form next week. This is our final hurdle. This is our final bump. Portillo's, you get a good cake shake as well.
Nice.
Which I say good. It's actually, I think it's overrated. It's hard to eat or drink because it's got a fucking cake banged in it. But people love it.
Excellent. Portillo's. We'll see as we get closer. But it's looking like one of you two. We'll see. Famous last words. I'm going to go 0-4 the rest of the way now. On to the rest of our games. And we've only got 2 games left to cover while we go through our ATS Picks Competition. Done a good job at covering the games so far. Thursday Night Football. And again, look, some shout-outs this week. Look, we shouted out the Rams last week on the preview. Hammer the Rams, hammer the Rams, hammer the Rams. 3.5-point underdogs, or 3, I think it closed that, at home against the Vikings. The Vikings just played the Lions. Teams that play the Lions suck the week after. Vikings on a short week, heading out west. Joe, you ignored me. And the Rams.
I didn't realize the refs was listening as well, and decided to hammer it on there as well, but not seeing that face mask, which might be one of the worst misses. I don't know if you've seen the refs thing. He said, well, he was looking the other way, and I couldn't quite see him. Yeah, he's staring. Yeah. It was like so obvious as well how his head like nearly turned 180 degrees and his body didn't, but they were like, oh, he must have got his shoulder or something.
I think, to be fair, they were thinking maybe Sam Darnold was going as the Exorcist for Halloween.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what an outfit. He's scared of ghosts, but he doesn't mind the Exorcist.
The biggest giveaway was Byron Young afterwards, knowing that he'd done it and just going, oh no, I fucked up here. And that was the biggest giveaway.
I'll shout out Byron Young as well, because some Vikings fan had their kid go Halloween in 2 Vikings costumes and a blind ref with the stick. And Byron Young tweeted it and said, I hope you get no candy, which is absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, Rams had Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, and Puka Nacua was a bit of a shock. It only happened kind of in the run up to the game, the last hour or two before the game. We were getting word that he was going to play. Huge game, and the locks are longer as well. They look more luscious and fuller than they did last year from Puka.
And slightly annoying that I left Stafford on my bench after throwing 3 touchdowns all year to then just throwing 4 in one game.
Yeah, 4-1 game. Rams right in that mix in the NFC West, 3-4. You can just see them going on a run now, can't you? They're just so much better all of a sudden. And Vikings at 5-2 in obviously a very tight NFC North as well. Another huge game for Justin Jefferson, 8 for 115. But fun Thursday night one. Spoiled by the refs a little bit, but I thought Rams were good value for the win. And then the last game we haven't talked about is the Saints Chargers. I think the biggest talking point in this one was the lineman wrestling match we had after Saints D lineman tried to break Justin Herbert's ankle.
Disgusting. I think he should be suspended. Mm-hmm. Like it's blatant. It's on film. Good one, Bozeman, for pummeling him and stopping it. But it's a horrendous play. It's heinous. If that doesn't carry a suspension, I don't know what really the point in is having suspensions after the fact of these things is then, because it's just a dirty, nasty play that needs eradicated from the game.
Yeah, it was horrible stuff. But I loved this. The two big lad scrapper on the floor was hilarious. Chargers win 26-8. They go to 4-3. I think I've got just enough life and enough weeks left in my Chargers future that if they can go win another 2-3 games in a row, I might be able to get some money back on it. Saints 2-6, and it just looks sad. I mean, the only sort of bright spot was Chris Olave, who had a monster game, 8 receptions for 107 yards. And I know we'll get to Fantasy Gameday in a minute, but just shout out our resident New Orleans Saints fan, Jenny, my partner, who cashed in Fantasy Gameday mainly because of that Chris Olave differential. Not many people seem to have the monster game. It's top 50 or 55th. Beat us. I beat you, Byron. You beat the team this week. And cash show. Shout out, Jenny. Well done. And not good for the Saints, though. Do you think Dennis Allen is going to surely he's going to see out the season at least? I mean, apart from there's just no real hope at the minute for the Saints.
I'm guessing they'll depend when car comes back. I think if it carries on being a car crash, then they might get rid of him. But I think he's got that excuse, like he's playing one rookie and then going to another one halfway through. It's not much hope. When they start 2-0, it looked amazing with all these points. It's how the season changes.
Yeah, Jake Hayner, I think there's the bench Spencer out there partway through. Went to Jake Hayner, who might be in line to start moving forward until Kyrie's back. It might be another week or two before we see Derek Carr. Saints Panthers next week in another rancid game. The Saints are 7 point. The Saints are 7-point favourites. The Saints shouldn't be 7-point favourites against anybody at the minute. No. So just cover off then our ATS picks. I suppose we'll just go where the differences was. So I was alone on the Cardinals, who won outright. I was alone on the Browns, who won outright as well. Byron, you were on the Jags to cover against the Packers, and they did. Joe, you were on the Colts. Yeah, Colts covered in by obviously only lost by 3, covered the 5. Where else have we got? No real other ones, but I guess we're all on the Lions. Me and Joe on the Bills, all on the Chargers, Broncos. I was on the Commanders. Yeah, Hail Mary did it for me. A good week. Where did we finish, Joe, this week? 10-5. Oh, man's on fire. Well, I did, yeah. Raiders covered. Niners obviously won outright. And we're waiting on the Steelers, and we're all on the Steelers, so it won't make too much of a difference. I'm 10-5 for the week. Byron 7 and 8 so far. Joe 9 and 6. Joe leading the way. I've only got one back on you this week, Joe.
I know. When looking at my record, I'm like, I'm not doing too bad this year.
Yeah,
I'm like 24. Yeah, I've got 24 ahead to be over 500. So
yeah, excellent, good stuff. Good. We've had a good couple of outside of Byron's ATS. There, we've had a good few weeks because we had strong fourfolds last week. Plenty of bets hitting. I think am I 6 and 3 going into Monday Night Football for spreads and totals. 10 and 5 on college this week as well. It's just been a really good couple of weeks betting wise for the good teams and great teams cover guys. Let's head into Fantasy Game Day though and look at the winning lineup. Shout out to our winner this week of the £7.50 OG Fantasy Game Day. And the way that Joe's looking is something's wrong with the slide. Shout out Super Sign 91, who was the winner of the £7.50 OG game with 196.64 as the winning score. We were 79th with our 144.66. So just giving Gummy and the guys all our money at the minute with our running Fantasy Game Day. Shout out the winning lineup, Super Sign 91. Chase's captain. Jalen Hurts, 35 points, monster game with the 3 rushing touchdowns. Breece Hall was a common addition to most teams and let pretty much everybody else but side down. J.K. Dobbins had a decent outing against the Saints. A.J. Brown, Tillman and Otten were the 2 that were in our team as well, Byron, but it's a huge here for Super Sai. Tillman with his 2 touchdowns. So it was Otten, close to 100 yards. And then Calvin Ridley as well for 22.6. What a lineup for this week.
Smashed it. Not really when you dud his Breece Hall, and like you said, so many people had Breece Hall, a lot of people, including us, had him as captain.
Yeah.
Then, you've smashed it.
Yeah, excellent. Shout out, well done, Super Sai. Reminder, if you've not joined already, go do so. The best and fastest growing UK NFL daily fantasy game. Fantasy Game Day, use our promo code COVER, all in capital letters. You'll be given a free play after your first entry. And shout out to us that have used it. It's been telling us a few people have been using it. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed your free play on us, and hopefully you earn a few quid while doing it as well. And that's Fantasy Game Day. Last bit of business, Thursday Night Football. We get to watch the Jets in prime time again. Who knew putting the Jets in prime time so many times? Who'd have thought that would have been a terrible idea? The Jets are 1 point favourites at home against the Texans. Over-under's 42.
Really?
Yeah.
What part?
Stephon Diggs must be swinging that line. I was confused by that as well. Please, Joe had a similar reaction to me.
I've just checked it again, Joe.
I have it up now.
That's -1, yeah.
Yep. 42, like you say, over under. Yeah, I mean, obviously leaning Texans, but I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Jets win just because it feels like a spot where they will win. Annoyingly, banged up Texans team.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon's going to have a huge workload again, I think, to the Texans to hold on here. And I don't know, there's just something like the Jets, it's got to click at some point. It might not be for the season. But by the same token, would you be really surprised to see it be like a 21-5, 21-3 Texans win and it's full meltdown in New York?
Yeah, I think I'm going to stay away from picking a side, but I'm leaning. I like the under here at 42.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm at. Joe, now you've got over the disbelief of the Jets being favourites.
Yeah, I've literally just gone and put some money on the Texans.
Is that what you would do?
Yeah, I think it's disrespectful that underdog against a team lost the last 6 or last 5, and the Texans have not been amazing. They'll be blowing anyone away, but it feels like they're a team who knows how to win, and they've been winning these tight games. While the Jets are the complete opposite, where they play well and lose. I've got the Texans. Why not? I think probably the defenses are the strength, but it feels like the stars in the Jets defense, some of them are not stepping up. So think it could be a huge game for Dell and Schultz. So I'll probably, like what Byron mentioned, I might look for a few bets on Schultz.
Yeah.
Have a look at the maybe like 50 yards, 5 catches. That'd be a decent 4-1-ish price.
Do you think a 6-2 team has ever been an underdog against a 2-6 team before?
I'm
Unless
laughing
we're
because that's
missing
literally what I was
something
about to
like
ask you.
Yeah, like CJ Stroud's injured or something daft like that. Well, we just haven't seen.
His arms fall. His throwing arms falling off.
Yeah. The rest in half the squad just have a week off because it's basically a bye.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm thinking I should put money on the Texans +1, but then therefore that's the trap. They want me to bet the Texans.
Yeah.
4D
It's all
chess,
scripted, isn't it? Is that what it is?
Yeah, 4D chess. They want me to bet the Texans, so don't do what they want you to do. Right, that's the end of our Week 8 review. We'll be back with our Week 9 preview on Friday. Thanks for joining us. As always, if you've not followed us on Spotify, you'll be notified new episodes when they drop. Also follow us on our YouTube, Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok, and I've missed one. No, is that them all?
TikTok,
Yeah, no,
Twitter, Instagram.
TikTok,
Maybe we'll get on
Twitter,
Blue
Instagram.
Sky.
YouTube, what's that?
Blue Sky, it's a new Twitter, basically. I'm being grandiose about it, I guess, but like that's where a lot of people moved from Twitter to. I'm trying to move away. Twitter fucking.
Byron, you've just got yourself a new responsibility for the podcast.
Happily, to be fair. I'm already posting there for myself and Fantasy Cares, so.
You settle the good teams when great teams cover Blue Sky account and try and make sure it's got a handle at GTW_GTC, if that's how that platform works.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So, yeah, maybe I'll set that up tonight and get us some posts out. Maybe I'll do our Monday night bet on there in the next hour and a half.
Beautiful. Right, and we will see you, Friday with our Week 9 preview, and we've got a great guest, Brendan Booth, Fantasy Guru and Las Vegas Raiders fan will be joining us as our guest picker. Until then, enjoy your week, everyone.